I certainly hope you enjoyed the presentations yesterday. It was a very intense day, lots of information to process. Today will be the same, so I hope you're rested and ready to go. For those of you who weren't here yesterday, my name is Ron Spangler. I'm from MIT, the Industrial Liaison Program, and I'll be your MC again today. I have to ask the same thing I asked yesterday. If you have a mobile phone, and I know you all do, please turn it on to vibrate or silence the ringer so we can all enjoy the day together. We have more to do today than we have time in which to do it, so I'll skip right to the beginning. The format's a bit different. We'll start off with a keynote, a short keynote from Mr. S.N. Subrahmanyan, who's the Deputy Managing Director and President of L&T. Immediately after that, he will be in conversation with Mr. R. Chandrasekhar, the President of NASSCOM. So without further ado, may I request RC to come up and introduce the topic and introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Ron. Good morning. It's a matter of tremendous pleasure for me to welcome Mr. S.N. Subramanyam, the Deputy Managing Director and President of L&T and the CEO designate, or SNS as he's called, who is not just an eminent person but also a very close friend. 20 years ago, our acquaintance dates back to 20 years, when we first met to discuss the establishment of the high-tech city in Hyderabad, which is now, of course, history. And I had the pleasure of meeting him then, and I found him to be extremely incisive, sharp, and fast. And now I'm reliably informed he's even faster. It's a pleasure to welcome him to speak to everyone here, and it's also fittingly exactly 1 year to the day when we had the pleasure of hosting in this very hotel the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, and the Prime Minister of India at an event over here. So today it's indeed a pleasure to invite SNS to share some of the fantastic experiences. I'll leave it to you to judge from his presentation and the subsequent chat that we are going to have, that they are doing and attempting. It's fascinating. We've heard yesterday a bit about the future from Kevin Ashton. We got perspectives from the MIT professor, Carlo, and now from the high priest of practitioners from the L&T, SNS. Great pleasure inviting you to share your thoughts. But before that, a short video.
So good morning to all of you for having me here. So thank you very much for that lovely introduction. To a certain extent, my career was also made by you because you had that guts to take the decision in those days on one of those most sensitive aspects of India, which is land. And then we have that high-tech city in Hyderabad. That area is called Cyberabad today. And Mr. Chandrasekhar and me, and I played a little part, but he played a big part in putting Hyderabad on the map those days. And that's what led to the revolution in Hyderabad and making it a competitive city from Bangalore's point of view, if I may say so. So having said that, some of you, and I suppose most of you out here must be wondering what a brick and mortar guy is doing in a NASSCOM summit. Thank you for having me out here. Don't mistake me being here. And having said that, I do play a certain amount of part in our IT business right now, beyond construction, slightly moving away from construction due to whatever the reasons of organization, and that's how life is. So what I will do out here to make this session interesting is that, as you know, we have, as Larsen & Toubro, two IT companies. One is L&T Infotech, which does the general ERP and IoT and such other work. And second is L&T Technology Services, which is more relevant from today's point of view. Technology Services also got into IPO recently. It's our technology arm, it's our engineering arm. It does quite a bit of asset management, product development, back-end engineering, R&D work, so on and so forth. So in combination with L&T Technology Services, what we're trying to do to Larsen & Toubro itself per se is what I will try to say in certain of my slides. Another part which I would like to touch upon is about 2 years back, I took the permission of my chairman and the board to start a business called Smart World Communication. We called it that because we found the name right. So we call it SWC, or Smart World Communication. It all started with doing 25,000 kilometers of optic fiber cable for releasing the spectrum. So we were doing it in the western, southern parts of the country for connecting all the defense installations. As you can see, 24,000 is a lot of kilometerage. And when we tripped into that business, and as much as I could understand it at that time, we found at the edge part of the cables come many things like GOFNMS, DWDMS, IPLMS, which is basically putting a lot of servers, routers, switches, teleconference facilities, so on and so forth, to collect, secure, transmit information, etc. Around the same time, Gujarat government was doing a lot of solar projects, and we found that many of our solar cables were getting lost in the night because people are coming and removing the copper. And it was expensive, and the clients were saying it's your problem because the contract is with you. And the clients are refusing to do a compound wall because even in those desert-like areas, there was land disputes, etc. And to protect our cables and to protect our installation, somebody came out with the idea of putting cameras. And then we tripped into that. We did the solutions for Sabarmati jail, and then we did number recognition of car numbers in the cities of Ahmedabad, Baroda, and Gandhinagar. And as I go along, I'll tell you more about it. So just to move on, with which direction do I point it out? Okay. Before this session gets over, you will have 81,000 smartphones sold, maybe 21,000 rides taken, 4.3 million apps downloaded, and 72 million searches done on the Google. I picked it up from somewhere, so don't dispute the data. It's all powered by digitalization. Somebody asks the question, why is L&T getting into digital? It's very simple. The brick and mortar companies, whether it is US Steel or Ford Motors, General Motors, you can add BP, you can add L&T there, may not be as big as those lines, but somewhere it does figures with $17 billion and a valuation of about $25 billion. You find the sales are there, but the valuations are just not there. And you look at the digital companies, the Google, the Apple, the Facebook, and whatnot, and you have there the double the sales, and I don't know what time is the valuation that goes into trillions of dollars. So if you got to survive, and if my ESOP has to grow in value, and if all our ESOPs has to grow in value, we have no other choice but to get digital and do something about it, otherwise we are not making money. And that's the simple, pure reason why we look digital today. And as you can see, the most popular media platform is worth $300 billion. The world's largest taxi app is worth $69 billion. And Airbnb, the largest hotel company, is worth $25 billion. And they don't own any assets. And here we are a brick and mortar company owning all the assets in the world, power production to construction assets to shipbuilding to whatnot. And we are struggling to get a return on investment out of it. If you see how digitalization has happened across the globe, you find as construction, we are far behind. Hardly anything has been done. I've gone around the world, met some of the largest construction CEOs across, some of the brightest people in the construction world. And when you look into it, here and there, something has been done from engineering, BIM, project management, etc. But from real digitalization point of view, we are hardly there. And therefore, there's a lot to be done if we can grow up. And you can also see who has gone digital in a big way. I call them digiratis. They perform terrifically better than others who are struggling to get into it or not thought through it or yet to find a way into it. So for us, it's very simple. We got to digitalize the organization to be where we are, to survive and to go forward. There's no other way. Our digital journey has been following. So we identified some 25, 30 topics. One of my former CIOs was brought in as the chief digital officer because I found nobody was willing to join a brick and mortar company as a chief digital officer. Or the kind of salaries that were being asked about is even what my chairman does not own, so it was difficult to appoint a person. So we just found a person who was a former CIO, brought him in, and he started these initiatives along with a team of senior people with me being there. So we started things like putting sensors on all our plant and equipment. We started putting radio chips on our workmen. We started barcoding our materials. We started tagging some of our scaffolding, shuttering, and transmission line equipments. We brought in BIM into our designs. We have a 3D center there, which is, I believe, one of the most unique centers in the world, hardly any from a construction point of view. We have brought in HoloLens to do safety and visualization at site. We brought in virtual reality to see how designs can be done. Why I'm saying all this is, as an old age company during the 90s and 2000s, we also found that some of the brightest and the most intelligent people, like some of you sitting in the audience or most of you sitting in the audience, did not join the brick and mortar companies. You all went to the IT areas or to the retail areas or to the banking areas and so on and so forth. So my middle management today is a bit hollow because the best of the guys are not coming. And now if I have to transform the company from where it is today to take it forward to the next level, I have no other choice but to skip that so-called thing that should have happened and move on to the next plane. Otherwise I lose out because that's all that I have. That's all that we have. We have no other choice, and that's the way we need to take it forward. I'll give you some of these examples for you to get a better view. If you take, sorry, I think I skipped a slide. I don't know how to go back. Yeah. Yeah. If you take my P&M tracking, at any given point of time on the construction part of Larsen & Toubro, which is 50 to 60% of the company, we have about 20,000 assets, the bulldozers, the transit mixers, the scrapers, the loaders, the tower cranes, whatever. It's about 4,000 crores in value. 180 categories, as you can see, generators, whatever, and nearly 750 original equipment manufacturers. So it's not easy for us when we talk about it. And what we have said is we will put sensors on all these equipments. One that helps you to locate the equipment. We put it on the fuel gates. It tells you how much fuel is getting consumed. We put it on the lubricants to see how much lubricant is getting consumed. We put it on some spare parts to see how much spare parts is really getting eaten up, whether it's really required or some supplier is pushing some spare parts for us to consume. And once we have done all this, we put it on the bucket of the excavator. So the excavator is supposed to lift 0.1, 0.2 cubic meters per lift. If it is consistently lifting only 0.1, whether it's due to the soil, whether it's due to poor hydraulics, poor lifting, or is it that we are not utilizing the equipment properly to lift what it out to lift? Now imagine if I sensor all my equipments and collect all these data on online basis, and it's viewed at the site, it's viewed at the cluster, it's viewed at the headquarters, and create necessary dashboards to ask questions on how can we improve efficiency, how can we monitor things better. It just revolutionizes the way I do my work. It's just mind-boggling. One of my guys calculated and said if you can do it and improve things by even 10% or by half an hour working time, we save 400 to 500 crores per year. It's a tempting figure to blow up my profitability. But even assuming 50% of that takes place or even 30% of that takes place, I'm very happy that we have achieved what we need to achieve. We have started using drones in an extensive manner, LIDAR surveys. Drone, this is a view of our campus at Chennai, just to give you how it is. So when a site is coming up, you can see how it's coming up, you can see how things are working. This is a very important thing that we are trying. We employ about 300,000 laborers at any given point of time, all our sites. So we're trying to put a sensor on the helmet of the worker. I don't call it a sensor, you call it a radio chip. So you get to see, we have iris and fingerprinting at all our sites. So with this, we get to see when the workman is coming in, which zone is he working, whether he's really working or chatting there or smoking a beedi, whether he's really productive, whether he's working the 8, 9, 10 hours that he's supposed to work. Now imagine I increase that by half an hour. The savings are enormous out of 300,000 laborers. I'm also connecting this, we have collected the Aadhaar numbers of most of our workers. We have about 500,000 Aadhaar identification with us. And through the government of India, we can get their addresses. I can just speak to the carpenter at some small town somewhere in Amravati and call him to the site right now. And if we can do that, we just change the way the construction workers are looked at. We can change the way the paradigm of productivity is looked at. We can look at the way the efficiency of per day working is looked at. This is a complicated process. Even the workmen, the technology is difficult because in a site, when you put RFID, it doesn't work suddenly if a wall comes up, if something else comes up. So technology is a little difficult, but we're trying to master that. Material tracking and optimization, you can just imagine that shuttering there or the concrete elements there. So put an RFID and all that, to put a tag around that, so we know where it is, what place it is, which side it is, where it is moving, whether something is lying idle somewhere and somewhere else we're ordering. So you get to know it online, we're trying to do it, and also GPS most of our suppliers' trucks so that we know when it is coming and when it is going out. Design, massive revolution taking place in terms of 3D drawings. So you have avoiding clash analysis, interface issues, so rework at sites are eliminated. An ordinary illiterate person can also just look at the color and diameter of the pipes and clamps and understand how to fix it, how to move it. So these are the things that we are trying to do on the digital side of Larsen & Toubro and the construction. I've given myself a time of 1 year. So by next September, bulk of it should be done. And if our results look better and share price go higher, you can all be happy about it. So the collaboration in us are many. We have good partners at L&T Technology, which is playing a major part in it. And the whole idea is if they can do it within L&T, they also have a platform called Ubique. It's a high-end analytics platform, which we are using as a platform to collect the data, to analyze it, and to do the dashboards, etc. So if that can be used and pushed across, I think we have a revolution on hands, and we can sell it to the world to see how it is taken forward. And we have the original equipment makers, Microsoft and L&T Infotech also as a partner there. We expect about 2% savings on about 60,000 crores of turnover, which is significant, and let's see how it goes. I hope I have the time, another 5 minutes. So this is called Smart World Communication. This is a business I said we started 2 years back. And this is to do with, as you can see, communication, basically security, communication, and smart infrastructure. So I will broadly tell you how this works. So these are the 3 businesses we are in. If you look at security solutions, this is a command control center at Mumbai for the Mumbai security solution. So we have put about 7,500 odd cameras across the city of Mumbai. So any one of you going to Mumbai now, if you look out properly, you'll find sleek, beautiful poles, lovely looking cameras, well positioned at junctions and at various areas, predominantly across south and central Mumbai. We're trying to expand it, and we have built about 2 command control centers, and we have provided the city with about 20 or 22 odd mobile vans with zonal control centers where the police can see in the zonal area what's happening. There is an interesting photograph which I thought I should show it to you. So this is how it all works out, yeah. So city surveillance. So what happens is that over a period of time, we collect a huge amount of these data. And today Mumbai is facing a very good different scenario where the 2 Ganesh festivals which were conducted went on very peacefully. Our cameras had played a big part in it. Yesterday there was a hit-and-run accident, and within half an hour that person who did that had been caught with proof that he was driving it. So you won't have the Salman issue again, hopefully. So these are the things that camera can do. And over a period of time, we are also supposed to operate and manage it. And just imagine that typical Indian policeman with a 10-feet stomach with a danda in his hand now sitting in front of these consoles and managing all the situations in Bombay. It's a revolution that's happening, and hopefully things go much better. And what we have suggested to the government that there are, with this huge amount of data available with us, we can do facial recognitions, we can do predictive analysis, we can do traffic pattern predictions, we can do predictions where car park has to come or something else has to come. So all that is something which we are talking to the government, and if with the data they allow us to do all that, it just changes how city planning and city governance would go by far. Yeah. Some of the other areas where we are playing a part in defense, we are doing a fair amount of things. I cannot talk too much about it, including border fencings, etc. That's the photograph there. You can see those smart-looking policemen sitting in front of the consoles and monitoring data. One of those vans down below, that black color van, is a mobile control van. You will find it many parts of Mumbai today if you go. You can see crowding and a person tailgating somebody, and all those things can be spotted, and we provide this information to the police, including with cutout photographs and proof. We're now doing it in the city of Hyderabad, we're doing it in the city of Nagpur. Hyderabad, we are providing about 12,000 cameras, and Nagpur, we are providing about 13 or 14,000 cameras. And Nagpur, in my view, would become the first smart city in India. So on the communication side, we have gone into, as I said, we started with the defense optic fiber cable laying. We're looking forward to the Bharat broadband program and certain other programs that the government has started. In my view, the Bharat broadband program is put through, and every taluk and village and post office is connected with optic fiber cable. All the subsidies and other cash transactions the government is talking about could be just directly transacted into the post office or into the person's home. And I think it's a game changer from many points of view. With the Janadan program, with the Aadhaar number and money getting transacted freedomly through the optic fiber channels, and the middlemen getting cut off, the government bureaucracy gets cut off. If the government can do it before 2019 elections, they win it, clean and straight, simple as that, in my view. And that's the way it has to be taken forward. We look forward to the program. There are other communications happening in BharatNet, in Metro, emergency responses. We're doing in Andhra and Odisha 2 programs where for emergency responses and for cyclone warning, etc., you have early warning systems, you have satellite communication by which you transmit data in terms of emergency. We're putting loudspeakers, SMSs and all that, by which you transmit data to say to people that please vacate, don't go into the sea, don't go into that area, don't go to that particular point, etc., etc. We just got the order, we are on it. Hopefully it should get done. This is something very interesting which we have done it in the city of Jaipur already. Any one of you visited Jaipur recently, in the center of the city, the main area and some of the surrounding roads, you will find it's all optic fiber cable laid. You have smart kiosks, you have traffic management, you have car park management. Especially the smart kiosk is very interesting because you go there and you get a lot of icons where you can get the weather data, train timetable, plane timetable. You can get details about the fort or the palace. Press a button, pay some $5 or something, you can get details of all that. There is a scan machine kept where you can scan your passport, where you can interact with the government officer. You can get the ticket to go into a fort, just go there and get into it. So these kind of things are fantastically happening there. And in Nagpur, we are supposed to provide all this and much more, including traffic management and car park management, etc., etc. And we just started the contract about a month back, and I think in a year and a half or so it will get completed. So that's the kind of digital vision that we are looking into. It's a new area for us. I think it just changes the paradigm of how we look at ourselves, we look at the world, and how we can transform governance and the way the country goes about. And if many more such governments and districts and city councils start getting into all this, they simply cut off layers of bureaucracy and make the services of the government, so-called, so easily available to the public and the people at large, that life becomes that much more simple and more beautiful to look at and live at. And it's a pleasure that we are into this program. We hope to take it forward, and our friends from TS and IT do play a part in it, and I thank them for whatever they've done so far. Many, many things to be done. Technology challenges are there, other challenges are there, but we will overcome it as a technology leadership company. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for patiently listening to me, and thank you very much for also letting me address this august audience. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, thanks so much for that absolutely fascinating presentation. And I think it showed how much is happening and how difficult it is to compress all of that into a 10 or 15 minute talk. You brought out very beautifully the imperative for a traditional company to go digital, especially in the changing world. It must be a bit galling also to have traditional companies owning all the assets, getting all the revenues, and finding that all the valuations are with digital age companies. But clearly, L&T has gone far. You've set up two, technology arms within the organization. So you're making this transition and transformation quite rapidly, and it's showing. So tell us, what are the challenges that you face in managing this transition, and what are the kind of leadership attributes that you think are required for a traditional, professional, highly regarded company like L&T to make this transition? And in a general sense, what are the kind of leadership attributes that you think are necessary to drive this kind of a change?
It's a very apt question, but very complicated one to answer, so I don't know. So we're trying. Some of us got into it, rightly or wrongly so I've looked at it. And L&T has always done things which are slightly different from the general trend of the industry, and that's why we are L&T, and that's why we are where we are. We have been ahead of times in some of these matters. We could have been much ahead, but being a slightly diversified company, so I suppose focus is not there in every area, so some areas go forward, some areas don't go forward as much. We could have done better. But having said that, I think it's a survival instinct in my view. You just take a hospital, just to give you an example. We were doing hospitals. Everybody can do a hospital. What is there? Some column, beam, and slab, and some marble and granite. Then we said, everybody is doing it. So we said we will do design and build. Well, the competitors caught on. Then we said we'll do architect, design, and build. That means we have people now who can, if you want to build a cancer hospital, say what room should be there, how it should be there, how many general beds, etc. We have people who can conceptualize a hospital within us. Then somebody said competitors are catching on. Then we said we'll get into medical equipment. So we're buying medical equipment, supplying, training the nurses and the technicians, and even operating it for some time. So we not only from a construction company, we said architecture, design, build, and even train nurses. We find people catching on. Then somebody said, why don't we do the patient management software and the hospital management software? So we told our IT guys, as part of construction, why don't you supply that? Well, maybe just a few crores on top of the concrete that we pour. But then when an organization starts looking at it, right from concept to giving the software to the making everything ready, so patient just walks in on the day of inauguration, the doctors start cutting his heart or whatever, it's a great thing to do. And that's how we have positioned ourselves to take it forward. And we find if we have to survive in our business also, we need to do it, and that's how we have got into it. So I don't know where the leadership comes from. I think it's sort of survival.
Well, I think it's much more than survival. I would say it's prospering, but as usual, modest to a fault. But tell me, we see also a lot of diversity in the aspirations of people within the organization who belong to the sort of new age arena and the traditional age. So how do you manage all these differing aspirations within the organization and maintain the kind of cohesive, coordinated forward movement that you've been able to accomplish?
Two ways. One of the reasons actually why we started our IT and TS, if you go back into history and see around the 1990s, 2000, it's not only that the bright and the brightest were not joining us, but also some of the best and the brightest within the company were leaving the company. They were more attracted by the TCS and the Infosys and the Tech Mahindras and whatever it was. It's a fact of life. So when you're losing some of our best people, only one way to keep them inside was to say that, why don't we have our own IT companies, leverage it with whatever contacts and personal relations that L&T has got, and to grow it up. And that's how both these companies together have become $1.5 billion today. Much smaller compared to the other big brothers, but we are where we are. And when somebody wanted to leave, we said, go and work in L&T Infotech, L&T TS. So if you see today, the domain knowledge amongst both these companies are far ahead of their peers, because they've gone from the construction background, they've gone there from the oil background, they've gone there from the power background. So if you go talk to a power client, it's not only doing the engineering or the IT for it, but you know what you're doing because you worked in that background before. So it made a difference. Second, today, for me to attract some of the best and the brightest into the company today, we are one of the largest construction companies or manufacturing companies in this part of the world, and we continue to grow. I need to provide an ambit of an infrastructure of IT and digital within the company to attract these people. So we put up BIM centers, we put up 3D centers, we invested in virtual reality, we invested in HoloLens. We have fairly ITized in that particular manner, or digitalized in that manner. And some of the digital which I'm doing today, some of the youngest boys and girls in the company are doing it. It's not, the whole people are there to guide because they know how to pull the strings to push it across. But if you see that 40 odd people who are involved in the digital, these are all very, very young guys, 28 to 30 to 32. They are the guys who are doing it because we don't understand it. I can talk about it, but don't trust I understand it. I don't. So these are the youngsters who are doing it. And when you see it, people like me get an opportunity to get invited to NASSCOM because of my designation to talk about it. And I'm being honest. So from my point of view, it also helps us to attract talent into the company. But when I showcase all this, even people from some of the top IT companies want to come and work with us. We had to find the equation because we are a conservative cadre-based company with salary structures. We can't immediately pay the kind of IT salaries. But we are finding out modes and methods for it. But sometimes we place them in TS and IT and they can afford to pay because they are in that kind of business. And that's how we're taking it forward. There are resistances. The old guard still wants a paper. Even if they approve the work order digitally, arey wo paper de do, sign nahi kiya maine. So these kind of, the M books and the log books and the stores recorded side, they don't understand. Hey, kya kuch to computer mein kar raha hai, chodo ye sab. So all these revolutions and hardball arguments take place. But I think it will work over a period of time. We are also pushing, we are insisting on it. And even today email comes, my executive assistant has to show me on paper this, I can't sign it, I can't react to it. So there is an old age, new age kind of stuff going on, but I think we'll get over it.
So you have really managed to combine the strengths of the domain with some of the new age capabilities. You know, Jeff Immelt was supposed to have said, I sleep as a manufacturing company and I wake up as a software company. So as you are on the threshold of taking over as the CEO, what do you want to sleep as the CEO and wake up as when you finish here?
I'm not the personality that Jeff Immelt is. He leads a $100 billion company. It's a wonderful organization. But I think it's a company to benchmark with. It's led the way into digitalization in which no other company has done. It's done wonderful things. The Predix platform is a wonderful analytics platform. And Bill Rue, who's the chief digital officer, whom I have personally met and had shared a lot of moments with, is an unbelievable individual. They've gone far ahead in it. We're trying to do it in our own way. I want to sleep peacefully and get up charged up next day morning. So let me go about my life in my own way and let's see where it goes.
Well, you know, this is a fireside chat where I would have really liked to have had a fire behind us and a couple of hours and also a drink, you know. But since we are constrained by the real world limitations of time, unfortunately, we'll have to close this part of the session here and open it up for some questions from the floor, because I'm sure that there'll be a lot of questions, including maybe some from Salman Khan fans as well. But I think let's have a few, we have time just for a couple of questions. Anyone who would like to pose any question to, yeah. Okay, 1 and 2. Yes.
I think
Mic here. You can start at the corner here. Yeah.
Okay,
and
I
then,
get it
and
first.
then go back there. Yeah.
Raj from TE Connectivity. Any benchmark with smart cities around the world with what we are doing? Comments?
See, there's no definition of smart city. Each city has evolved in its own manner, depending on the vision of the leader there or what certain ambit is suggested there. If you see in India too, there are varying degrees of what smartness is. Maybe it's also constrained by a certain amount of funds, availability, etc., etc. The fact today is that wherever there is younger leadership, there's a more broad-minded leadership, I find things are happening. There are an ambit of leadership and an ecosystem of consultants, including ourselves, playing a part in defining what one can do. Now, if you start doing too many things, I am afraid this will not go forward. So you've got to do it step by step. So the priorities for the government as I see it is security, car park management, traffic management, certain amount of Wi-Fi which everybody wants today because everybody has got a mobile or a laptop or an iPad, certain amount of good data, quick data to access areas, maybe weather data, so on and so forth. So that's what is happening today. I suppose when these things happen, and when you visit some of the government offices, you look at the roster of what you call feedbacks received, it's very, very positive. People are really taken up by this. Standing in front of a dingy government office, meeting a guy who doesn't want to reply here, everything you press of a button, you get it's a revolution that is taking place. Now with the security thing happening, I think the police are finding it's just an absolute revolution for them because just sitting in front of a console, they're able to spot the entire city, analytics, everything. They're just mind-boggling from their point of view. Now, there are some smart policemen from NITs and others employed there who understand it, but bulk of the police do not. And they find it as if the rug is being removed from under the feet. So in my view, if this kind of thing keeps happening, there will be a pressure on the system to do it more and more. To be honest, the cost is not much. I'm myself surprised. Entire Mumbai 7,000 cameras has cost us about 800 crores, including command centers and mobile vans, etc. Nagpur is about 850 crores, and Hyderabad is coming at around the same price, with a lot of additional features. And as technology changes and improves, and as routers, switches, and other gadgets become more economic in India from that point of view, I suppose the cost will keep coming down further. In my view, the government will find they'll find it a way to beat their own system. They'll find it better to beat their own employment. They'll find it a method to come across their own bureaucracy. The younger politicians will push it. The younger bureaucrats will push it. The younger police officers will push it. The younger IAS officers joining the government will push for it because it gets them brownie points. So I think it will happen, and there cannot be a definition to it. It all depends on money, and there's mind-boggling amount of things you can do, birth certificate to debt to digitalize everything on earth, electricity bills. It's mind-boggling. So I think it will happen and let it evolve. Let's not try to define too much into it.
Okay, this is the last question
So
from the
So enjoyed the session. When do you think our quality of life in Bangalore between home and office will improve?
Well, I must tell you that he started the day in Chennai. He's in the mid-morning here with us, and he's having lunch at Hyderabad. So he can tell you how to improve all the three of them, maybe.
You know, I've had an interesting association with Bangalore. About 15 years back, I spent 3 years here to build the airport, the Bangalore International Airport, the new airport there. I tell you, it's not easy, your city, right? And,
How many are in favor of that? Only a few hands. I thought the whole hall would.
It's tough because that's the way it is. That's the way the decision making is. That's the way the politics is. You have BJP there, you have Congress here, you have Congress here, you have BJP there. Something like that goes on. Decision making is difficult. Believe me and trust me, it took 3 years to even start the airport. We took two years to build the airport, right? But 3 years of my life was in that Vidhan Soda. Every table and chair I used to know, every dirty coffee on earth I ever had, every stinking bathroom I visited. It's not easy, yeah. But it was perseverance and perseverance and perseverance which pushes projects. I think we got to have a mind which says every form of development is required. Every form of infrastructure is required. We can't put a dot on anything. And there are voices here, very, very influential voices which have their own vested views or interests also in that. It's a very influential city. There are some very interesting people out here who have their opinions on everything on earth. And therefore, to put it all together and to move it forward in a democratic system like us takes time. But one has to be positive. If a bunch of goons like me can put up the airport, I suppose many other things can be done in this lovely city. It is a great city, it will happen.
Can I ask last question?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, we are out of time. We'll have to stop there. But thank you very much for being here, for offering very candid, very incisive, and yet very humble in spite of all your accomplishments, as always. I've had the pleasure of doing business with you, walking away from the table with one deal and a lifelong friend.
Yes,
but
sir.
it's been a different pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, I've had the chance in my work to see a lot of companies around the world that are struggling with digital transformation. I haven't seen too many who have succeeded or are in the process of succeeding as quickly and well as L&T, so very impressive talk. SNS, we'd like to present you with a token of our appreciation, and RC will hand it over to you.
Oh, okay. That is digital. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And how about a big round of applause for RC as well?
After you.